It was almost exactly 1 year ago when I said, hey, it feels like things are starting to shift in the Canadian real estate market. Maybe we've hit the bottom and we might start seeing things trade up. And a lot of people said, not a chance, things are going to continue to decline. It's going to be crazy bad. And then we saw the spring of 2023 where both sales and prices started to increase. Of course, now since then, we've seen things trail back down and we're essentially back to where we started. Now I'm wondering, are we starting to see the same things develop again? I'm not quite as sure this time as I was a year ago, but let's get into this month's Canadian real estate market update and figure out what's going on. Hey there, welcome to Bald Prairie Real Estate. My name is Matthew Pfeifer, real estate agent in Regina. That's my trusted assistant, 𝗤𝗲𝗏𝗀, and we're going to give you the December 2023 Canadian real estate market update. We're looking at 11 major real estate markets in Canada, giving you all the numbers, give you my opinion on it, and some local agent insights. You know exactly what's going on in your real estate market. But of course, we had to start this off as we always do with another one of my terrible bad dad jokes. This one comes from another viewer, from Peter. He says, why is grandma's pizza recipe so secret? Because it's on a knead-to-dough basis. If you have a terrible joke that I can use in a future episode, let me know in the comments below. Let's get you up to date on the Canadian real estate market. In Victoria, they saw less than 400 homes sell in the month. That is down 32% from that 5-year average. Normally is closer to 600 homes selling in the month. And the 910 homes new list for sale in the month, that's up 16% from the 5-year average. Usually about 780 homes are listed for sale in the month. When it comes to active inventory, there's 2,600 homes currently for sale. That's a 25% increase as well. Usually about 1,600 homes are for sale this time of year. And that leaves months of inventory at 6.7, putting Victoria in a buyer's market. When it comes to home prices in Victoria, that Canadian Real Estate Association composite benchmark price, $870,000. That's up 1% year over year. It is down 11% from the peak we saw in April of 2022. The sales gap versus the 5-year average ticked up, meaning it got a little bit smaller. This is the first time this has happened in 5 months. Now, 1 month doesn't make a trend, but it's interesting to see that change direction for the first time in quite a while. New listings inventory, that didn't change. It's continuing on in the same direction. Now we're seeing both of those above seasonal levels for this time of year, driven primarily by the lack of sales. For buyers, this means you have more choice available to you. If you're out looking for a house in Victoria, you're gonna have less competition, less chance of multiple offers. And for sellers, you have to adjust your expectations for both pricing and how long you've been on the market, or you're not going to see your house sell. The 1,700 homes sold in Vancouver last month, down 32% from the 5-year average. Typically over 2,500 homes sell in the month. But the 3,400 homes newly listed for sale is down 4% from the 5-year average. Usually there's about 3,500 homes new listed for sale in the month. And the nearly 11,000 homes currently for sale in Vancouver is up 5% over the 5-year average. Usually there's just a hair over 10,000 homes for sale right now. So months of inventory is currently sitting at 5.5. That puts Vancouver in the middle of a balanced market, but trending closer and closer to a buyer's market. This is 2 months in a row now that we've seen months of inventory actually start to decline. When it comes to home prices in Vancouver, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is $1.18 million right now. That's up 5% year over year. It is down about 6% from the peak they saw of $1.26 million. That was April of 2022. And it's 4 months in a row now that home prices have declined month over month in Vancouver. The sales gap versus the 5-year average in Vancouver continues to increase. That being said, outside of the first 4 months of the year, every single month there's been more homes sold this year than there was last year. They're likely going to end the year at almost the same amount of homes sold for the last 2 years. Now, of course, it's still well below 5 and 10-year trend lines. When it comes to new listings, that continues to be low. They're likely going to see fewer new listings this year than they did last year and below those trend lines. When it comes to inventory, that is above average, driven primarily by the lack of sales, not by a huge number of new listings coming to the market. When it comes to prices, they haven't changed much all year. There's only about a 2% difference between the highest price this year and where we are today right now. And again, only down about 6% from the peaks we saw last year. What I have been finding is interesting, I'm talking with agents in Vancouver, is that West Vancouver single family homes are kind of bucking the trend. Not only did they increase month over month, they're up 10% year over year. So again, it's very area and style specific. One market might be more depressed than the others, and in other places you might see home prices increasing. The almost 1,800 homes sold in Calgary last month is up 19% over the 5-year average of 1,500. While the 2,300 new listings of the month is up 23% over the 5-year average. Usually it's about 1,800. And there's just shy of 3,000 homes for sale right now in Calgary. That is down 29%. Usually there's over 4,000 homes for sale right now. months of inventory is at 1.7, still very squarely in a seller's market, although it has slowly trended closer to that bounce market. We got a ways to go though in Calgary. When it comes to home prices, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price, $572,000. Not only is that up 10% year over year, the previous month we saw a small little dip. Now we're back up again to a new all-time high. When I'm talking to real estate agents in Calgary, there's a couple of things they told me that were really interesting. First is if prices are below $650,000, those houses are selling real well. Lots of competition, lots of buyers looking. When the prices are above $650,000, it's still busy, but not nearly as active and crazy busy as it is in those lower price points. 2-bedroom condos now over $300,000. That's absolutely crazy. They were nowhere near that just a few years ago. The sales to new listing ratio has hardly changed at all, even with the increased listings, mainly because they've had such strong sales. And right now, inventory levels are the lowest they've been in a decade. And condo sales continue to be the real hot button issue there. A lot of people looking for them, a lot of foreign buyers, and those foreign buyers are coming from Toronto and Vancouver. It's investors looking to put money somewhere. Calgary is the new Canadian real estate gold rush, and that's what they're looking for right now. But I am starting to see a little bit of spillover effect for those investors. They're looking at other markets like Edmonton, Saskatoon, Regina, and to some extent Winnipeg as well. The 1,640 homes sold in Edmonton last month is up 20% from the 5-year average. Usually it's a little under 1,400 homes selling a month. And the 2,100 new listings is down 3% from the 5-year average. Typically a little over 2,200 homes are listed for sale in the month. While there's about 5,400 homes currently for sale in Edmonton, that's down 4% from that 5-year average. Usually they're closer to 6,900 this time of year. So months of inventory is currently sitting at 3.3. That's just on the edge between a seller's market and a balanced market. When it comes to home prices in Edmonton, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is currently $375,000. It is up 3% year over year, but it is down about 8% from the peak we saw in the spring of 2022, which is about $400,000. Edmonton hasn't quite seen the foreign buyer investor boom that Calgary is seeing right now. And again, this is money from Toronto and Vancouver specifically looking for other places to buy. We have seen that impact though in apartment condo sales. The number of apartment condo sales has gone up, the inventory has gone down, days on market has all gone down, and they're one of the hotter sellers right now in the city of Edmonton. And while the Edmonton real estate market has continued to be busy normal, it's up about 20 to 25%. That's basically consistent all year long. New listings have only just kind of caught up to that 5-year trend, and inventory has been down essentially all year long. The 240 homes sold last month in Regina is up 9% from the 5-year average, typically about 220 homes selling a month. The 274 homes new listed for sale is down 14% versus the 5-year average, typically about 320 homes are listed for sale in a month. And the 770 homes currently for sale in Regina is down 30% from the 5-year average. Usually there's about 1,100 homes for sale this time of year. Months of inventory then is 3.2, again, right on the edge between a seller's market and a balanced market. When it comes to home prices in Regina, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price, $308,000. It is down 1% year over year, so basically unchanged. It is down 8% from the peak we saw in the spring of 2022, which got up to about $335,000, and it was also essentially unchanged month over month as well. While the Regina real estate market continues to be busier than normal, we continue to see the slowdown. I've been talking about this for quite a while now, but good houses are selling quickly. We are still seeing multiple offers. They're just not as common anymore. Houses that I expect to sell quickly sometimes aren't, and even when we are seeing multiple offers, instead of being 4, 5, 6 offers, it's 1, 2, sometimes 3 offers. Now, I remember when I started in real estate, and I've been in this business for over 10 years now, multiple offers was basically non-existent. In fact, I could have counted all the multiple offers up until 2 years ago that I'd done on one hand. Now it's becoming far more common. I'd say it's more often than not I'm dealing with multiple offers when I'm helping buyers. We're likely going to see home sales in Regina end the year down about 5% from the previous year and down 8% from 2021, which was actually when Regina set the record for the most homes ever sold. But we're very likely going to go into 2024 with less than 650 homes for sale, which is the fewest number of homes I've ever seen to start the year in Regina. And so with new listings being down double digits basically every single month, unless that trend starts to reverse, if we get any sort of bump in a spring market, more buyers come out looking, it's going to make it very challenging for buyers as there's just not a lot of houses for them to pick from. The 314 homes sold last month in Saskatoon is up 6% from the 5-year average, usually just under 300 homes sell in the month. While the 430 new listings in the month is down 5% from the 5-year average, typically about 450 homes are listed for sale in the month. And the 820 homes currently for sale in Saskatoon is down 34% from that 5-year average. Usually about 1,150 homes are for sale this time of year. So that leaves months of inventory in Saskatoon at 2.6. This is one of the tightest inventory situations situations across Canada right now. As for home prices in Saskatoon, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is currently $380,000. That's up 3% year over year. It is down 1% or $3,700 from the peak we saw in the spring of 2022. It looks like sales in Saskatoon are actually going to end the year higher than 2022, but down about 10% from the record-setting 2021 they had. New listings have kind of started to stabilize around that 5-year average, but it's not enough to make a dent in inventory. And much like Regina, Saskatoon is going to go into 2024 with the fewest number of homes I have ever seen in my career in real estate. I've been in real estate for over 10 years in Saskatchewan. So if we don't see new listings increase to the point where it starts increasing inventory, when we get into the spring market, there's likely going to be more buyers out looking, and they're going to have fewer choices to choose from if we continue to see such low inventory in Saskatoon. The 840 homes sold last month in Winnipeg is down 3% from their 5-year average, where typically about 1,000 homes sell in a month. While the 1,400 new listings is down about 1% from the 5-year average, where just a little over 1,400 homes are listed for sale. And the over 3,700 homes currently for sale in Winnipeg is up 40% over the 5-year average of 2,700. But there's a lot more to that story, and I'll get into that in 1 second here. The month of inventory currently sits at 4.5, so basically right in the middle of a balanced market in Winnipeg. When it comes to home prices in Winnipeg, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is $332,000 right now. That's up 1% year over year. It's down 10% from the peak we saw in the spring of 2022 when it was about $370,000. Sales in Winnipeg have basically bounced above and below the 5-year average pretty much since August, back and forth. The sales to listing ratio last month actually tightened up a little bit, meaning that sales picked up slightly. Now they're going to end the year probably down about 10 to 12% from that 5-year average, but really that's skewed by 2021 and 2022 when they saw really strong sales. Take those 2 years out, and actually this would be a fairly strong year in Winnipeg. New listings right on par for what we've seen for the last 5 years, but down from 2021 and 2020 actually. And when it comes to active inventory, they're going to start the year with around 3,700 houses for sale. And that is up, like I said, significant from the 5-year average, but that is skewed really badly by 2021 and 2020 when there was basically nothing on the market. If you go back previous years, the 3,700 houses that they're likely to have for sale would actually be considered fairly low. There were 4,200 homes sold in Toronto last month. That's down 41%. The 5-year average is 7,100. And the 10,500 new listings in the month is up 6%. Generally, there's a little under 10,000 homes listed for sale in the month. And right now there's 16,700 homes for sale in Toronto. That's up 39%. Typically about 12,000 homes are for sale this time of year. But months of inventory is 3.6. Now I actually had to pause recording on this to double check my numbers. It is 3.6 and it actually declined from the previous month. So when it comes to home prices in Toronto, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark, $1.08 million. It's equal to last year. It is down 5 months in a row though. It's down 20% from the peak we saw in March of 2022, and it's down 8% from where we saw it earlier this year. Now let's dive a little deeper into these stats, because for the first time in 6 months, we saw the gap versus the 5-year average for sales shrink just a little bit. And there was this talk of this massive seller wave of people who are being forced to sell their houses because of higher interest rates, etc. And we really haven't seen that. Yes, they were up 6% for the last couple of months, but we're likely to see Toronto end the year with fewer homes listed for sale, not only from last year, but also compared to the 5-year average. So this wave of distressed sellers supposed to hit the market really hasn't materialized yet in the data. And the real story behind the active listings in Toronto has less to do with new listings, those are down, and more to do with how few buyers out there. We're likely going to see a 10 or maybe even 20-year low in Toronto for sales this year. And I do keep track of the weekly stats every single week in Toronto. We've seen a huge number of cancellations, a lot of them being shifted into rental properties because we've seen a big spike in the number of available rentals. I expect when we see the January numbers, active inventory is going to continue to decline. And we also saw months of inventory just shrink just a little bit. 1 month doesn't make a trend, but it's an interesting note. And as I talked about in my 2023 predictions video, I didn't think home prices would change much in Toronto, and we've basically ended the year where we started with essentially no year-over-year change. How we got there is different than I expected, and I will be doing a 2024 predictions video, so make sure you get subscribed for that. That video is going to come out in the first week or 10 days of January. The 825 homes sold last month in Ottawa is down 35%. Usually there's about 1,300 homes sold in a month. And the 16,000 new listings in a month is up 11% from the 5-year average, usually it's closer to 1,500 this time of year. While the 3,750 homes currently for sale in Ottawa is up a staggering 62% for the 5-year average, which is 2,300.
I'm going to be talking a little bit more of this in just a second here. Months of inventory is at 4, which means it's right in the middle of a balanced market in Ottawa. And when it comes to home prices in Ottawa, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price, $628,000. That is actually up 1% year over year, but it is down 14% from the all-time high of $724,000 we saw in the spring of 2022. Similar to what we saw in Toronto, the sales gap versus the 5-year average actually shrunk just a little bit for the first time in 6 months. Again, 1 month doesn't make a trend, but it's interesting to see that we saw this little bit of a reversal. Now, sales are still going to end the year in Ottawa well below the 5-year average, and new listings have trended up. So that's good for buyers. There's more choice, more listings coming up for sale right now. And when I talked about inventory being up dramatically, yes, it is up versus the 5-year average, but the 5-year average is really badly skewed by how few houses are for sale in Ottawa in 2019, 2020, 2021, and even a little bit into 2022. Because if you go back to previous to 2019, the number of homes for sale right now would basically rate about where it should be to slightly low in Ottawa. Now, when I'm talking to agents in Ottawa, they said to me they were kind of expecting November and December to be relatively quiet. And in fact, they've seen things bump up a little bit, a little more active, and we've seen that now in the sales. But one thing they are specifically mentioning is that the buyers are looking right now are really looking for good deals, and the sellers are just not willing to budge on price. So we're really not seeing as many sales happen just because those expectations are not meeting right now. Last month in Montreal, they sold over 2,600 homes. That's still down 34% from the 5-year average, where typically it's closer to 4,000. And almost 4,800 new listings a month is down 5%. Usually it's over 5,000. When it comes to inventory, the 17,700 homes currently for sale in Montreal is up 31% from the 5-year average of 13,500. But I got more on that in just a second. Months of inventory in Montreal, 6.6, so they're in a buyer's market in Montreal. When it comes to home prices, the Canadian Real Estate Association composite benchmark price in Montreal, $514,000. That's up 4% year over year. It is down 7% from the peak we saw in the spring of 2022, which was about $550,000. Montreal is going to end the year with the fewest number of homes sold in a year since I've been keeping markets. Now, it's only since 2015, but that was primarily driven to a very weak start to the year. Once they got into the spring market, basically they matched the 5-year average for the rest of the year. New listings, on the other hand, those have been down 10% as we get through to the end of the year. And while I talked about inventory being up, this is really skewed by the lack of inventory in 2020 and 2021 specifically. If you go through like 2017, 2018, 2019, the number of homes for sale right now would actually be below that 5-year average for that period of time. And when I'm talking with agents, they're telling me it kind of feels like things have stabilized a little bit in Montreal. And that's reflected in the price. $514,000, that's only a 1% change from when prices peaked at $520,000 earlier this year. Agents did mention though as well, we've seen a big reduction in listings, especially late November, early into December, as is typical. Usually by about December 15th, people pull their houses off the market. They'll put them back up in January. But there was a lot of buyers looking to pick up houses before they got removed from the market prior to Christmas. In Halifax, I don't quite have a 5-year rolling average yet, so we've got to compare everything versus last year. The 343 homes sold in the month is up 4%, while the 419 new listings in the month is actually up 13%. And the 950 homes currently for sale in Halifax is up 36%. That leaves months of inventory at 2.8. Still means Halifax is in seller's market, and it's still one of the hotter markets in Canada, even though things have slowed down a little bit. When it comes to home prices in Halifax, I have to use average price because they don't have benchmark price, $558,000, up 3% year over year, but it has trended down the last couple of months. When I'm talking with agents, they're telling me that Halifax is kind of a tale of two stories right now, and this is actually partially what's impacting average price there. Below $600,000, the market's pretty hot. Things are selling quickly. Typically, you're seeing things sell for about 100% or more of asking price. Over $600,000, it's a little bit softer. It's still busy, but we're not quite seeing things go as crazy. And that is obviously what's driving down average price. When you have more sales below $600,000, it's going to pull that average price down. When it comes to new construction, generally you're going to be starting at about $800,000 to build something new in Halifax, of course, over that $600,000 price point. So that's been a little bit softer for the last little bit in Halifax. And even though Calgary has overtaken Halifax as Canada's hottest real estate market, it's still a busy and active market. So there's not a ton of quote unquote deals to be had. Again, typically houses selling for 100% of asking price right now in Halifax. That's what happened this past month in the Canadian real estate market. I am going to be doing a 2024 Canadian real estate market forecast video, give you all the experts forecast, plus I'll give you my thoughts, opinions as what I think we're going to see this next year in the Canadian real estate market. So make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss that video. If you like this video, please give this video a like. And as always, thanks very much for watching.